So I'm Tom Charrier from Fat Properties. We invest, we develop and we operate property up in the northwest. Our core is student accommodation, and we diversified a few years ago into the leisure space, hospitality space, so service departments, kind of retail, pub. We're developing a hotel at the moment. Operational real estate, I would say the value comes in recognising value in operational activities, operational companies. Because we invest and we develop and we operate ourselves, that's hugely important to us. So we want to be recognised, we want our buildings to be recognised by banks, by investors, by valuers for the value that they create through their operations. Where we kind of see where we have frustrations is in sectors, for example, retail, high street retail, where valuers, surveyors won't see asset value in the operational success of a shop or a retailer. So that creates problems for us, because we want to be creative, we want to bring in good quality retailers. They typically want a bit more flexibility, but from the bank's point of view, they just want rigid, long leases. So I think, kind of the beauty in operational real estate is in recognising, being a bit more creative and flexible in terms of how you value assets. I suppose the kind of growth of operational real estate is good news for our business. Again, because we operate as well as develop. The more effort, the more success we get from our operations, the more valuable our assets become, which is exactly what we want. What we're trying to do is bring that to other aspects, other sectors of the industry, so that they can benefit from that same methodology as well. It doesn't exist across all of real estate. I think probably only some parts of real estate are doing it well. I think for us the challenge is bringing that to more and more sectors so that they can all benefit from it. I think that the move towards more operational real estate is here to stay. As with anything, things do go kind of up and down, and there is a degree of, it's kind of cyclical nature to things. But I think the old way of, property owners being the landlords and there being a kind of separation between them and the operational side of things, the opcos, is slowly disappearing, or quickly disappearing, hopefully. I think it's here to stay, and it's only going to grow. The impact between, or rather the relationship between landlord and tenant with opco is much tighter. They need to understand each other more, they need to work with each other more. The success of both are tied to each other. The risks are shared, which is good. And I suppose, the model which can be used, shifts risk and upside one way or the other, but they're certainly more shared. The old way, the traditional way of doing things, that risk was essentially on the operator. The upside was on the operator as well. And that relationship between landlord and operator was much more distant, and now they're much more intertwined. Our panel was about repurposing struggling asset classes, so office and retail to other uses, typically leisure, possibly residential, typically leisure, service departments, hotels, things like that. There was some discussion about kind of transient uses in there as well, while buildings are going through planning, while they're vacant. I suppose one of the ironies for me, again coming back to retail, is that we might not have to have the discussion about repurposing retail if it took on more of the principles of operational real estate in terms of valuing assets. It doesn't, so it is being repurposed as far as possible. It was interesting. I think there was a lot of consensus on our panel, which was about repurposing struggling asset classes, so office and retail, about the value that repurposing to kind of more operational real estate models can bring. Certainly the big talking point was about building safety. That's going to be it is already a massive issue. It's only going to grow in importance, and it's going to affect everybody through the chain, from investors to developers, contractors, operators. That was certainly my eyes have been open to it more and more over the past couple of years, and I think it certainly came out in the panel. I think, an event focused on operational real estate is fantastic. I think, it's the way things are going, and more the industry is moving towards that type of model, which I think is a positive. Secondly, it brings people from across multiple sectors. So often we'll attend conferences that are kind of in individual silos, And what's really valuable about this to me is that it gets people out of those day-to-day silos, meeting and talking to people, you know, from sectors that you might not typically interact with. So there's a lot of value in that. There's a lot we can learn from each other as well. Yeah, for me, this is a really valuable event to attend, again, because what it does is it puts us, you know, in contact with people from other sectors, you know, other parts of the real estate industry that we don't normally interact with on a day-to-day basis. We all inevitably day-to-day get stuck in our little silos, perhaps with a little bit of interaction, but learning, you know, different methodologies, how people, you know, operate in different sectors, different parts of real estate, taking case studies, you know, giving case studies, learning and sharing, you know, best practice is really, really important, because it's only that way that we can really kind of learn and grow, you know, as well as we can.